It'll be at least one more season for Sunderland in the Championship after their loss to Luton Town in the league playoffs. While they couldn't achieve promotion this season, I want to focus this rebuild on the scenario that Sunderland returns to the Premier League at some point in the future, so that is where we'll begin this rebuild. Tony Mowbray has done wonders in his first season as Sunderland manager, largely overachieving expectations with the youngest squad in the Championship. Sunderland have brought in a few players from loan, and perhaps none have made more of an impact than Amad Diallo, the Manchester United player on loan, scoring 14 goals and 4 assists across all competitions. But assuming Sunderland one day see the return to the Premier League, it'll mean an increase in their transfer budget. You can replicate this with any promoted side by simply enabling a financial takeover. But we'll get right into the signings by adding some experience to this young Sunderland squad. Daniele Rugani has been a Juventus player since 2015, but he's seen his appearances dwindle in recent seasons. He's previously had some Premier League interest from sides like Arsenal, Chelsea, and West Ham. The latest rumors linking him to Galatasaray, but I still think he's got the quality to be playing in a mid-table or promoted Premier League squad like Sunderland. The fact that he was transfer listed meant that we could acquire him on a discounted $5 million transfer fee, quite a bit less than his valuation of $6.5 million. Samu Costa has been a key player for Almeria, not only in their promotion campaign last season, but also as they try to avoid the drop from La Liga this year. In terms of minutes played, he featured the second most out of any outfielder players last year, and he ranks within the top 5 this year. The fact that he's 6'1" and has medium-high work rates gives us defensive cover in the midfield. We're increasing the spending up to $7.5 million to finalize the Samu Costa transfer. Not bad considering he's valued at $5.5 million and he's showing great potential for the future. If you watch the Sunderland Netflix documentary, you might already know of Josh Maja. A graduate of Sunderland's youth academy, he's had a very interesting career, scoring 15 goals in League One during the 2018-19 season before moving to Bordeaux in Ligue 1. A couple loan spells at Fulham where he scored 3 Premier League goals, and Stoke City where he featured in the Championship. He's just had his best season to date, back with Bordeaux, but now in Ligue 2. I think there's going to be a lot of English clubs looking to sign him in upcoming transfer windows, but we managed to complete the deal for $2.5 million, significantly less than his valuation of $4.5 million, as Maja returns back to Sunderland and looks to compete for a starting striker role. We'll close out the summer signings with a Manchester United Youth Academy player in Brandon Williams. Due to his lack of involvement in Erik ten Hag's plans, it's pretty easy to bring him in on a loan basis. I've included a transfer fee of $3.5 million in case we want to sign him on a permanent. But as for Youth Academy scouting, disappointing to only see a 2-star, 3-star scout to begin with, but we'll be keeping our English scout in his home country for the rest of the season searching for any type of player. Because we've got some transfer budget left over, I figured we'll add a 5-star, 5-star scout from Wales. He'll be setting up a network in the Republic of Ireland for 9 months, searching for any type of player. Another 5-star, 5-star scout from Turkey. He'll be headed over to the United States, based on the fact that Sunderland have plenty of current and former players that represented the US. But we'll be getting an immediate boost to our youth academy with our homegrown talent. Arthur Dyer is an English left midfielder, 70 rated with 75 to 94 potential. Based off of the tactics we plan on using in this save, we'll switch Dyer to the right-hand side, where he should see an increase in his rating as a right winger. Some tough matches to begin our Premier League season as we kick things off against Spurs, but here's the starting 11. Obviously, there are some areas like goalkeeper where we need to grow our players' rating, but I want to keep the core of this Sunderland squad intact, including Luke O'Nien, who has featured for the club since 2018 and can feature practically anywhere in defense or midfield. The key for us, though, is to string together some good early results. I'll absolutely take a 0-0 draw in our season opener. We'll check on results in January 2023. And little to my surprise, we're nowhere to be found in the top 8. As we take a look at the relegation spots, we are sitting 16th, but only 2 points separating us and 18th place Bournemouth. As for the team, we did experience some setbacks, not only suspensions due to a red card, but also one of our high potential center backs, Daniel Ballard, will be out for 5 months with an ACL injury. We can't take our competition lightly, so we need to improve our starting 11 by signing another defender in this January transfer window. Armando Obispo has played his entire career in the Eredivisie, predominantly at PSV, but he is one of several center back options at the club. While he's getting increasingly involved in their squad plans, I don't think he would turn down interest from the Premier League. Always a goal-scoring threat from set pieces, he should give us a long-term option at left center back. $7.5 million was the finalized transfer fee, slightly more than his valuation of $6.5 million, and hopefully he can be one of many gifted PSV Youth Academy graduates. As expected, Dyer making that position change to right wing has seen an increase in his rating up to 75, and I think he's ready for first team action. So this is what our starting 11 will look like for the rest of the season. Clearly, points in the Premier League have been hard to come by as we arrive on the final match of the season. Our future is entirely in our hands. A win or a draw will keep us from avoiding the drop, but Nottingham Forest will be sure to field a strong starting 11 and try to keep their place in the Premier League. The City Ground is one of the newly added stadiums to FIFA 23, and it's going to be a tough atmosphere for us to get points. But we start things off on a positive note. Diallo on his non-preferred right foot, managing to get a shot at least close to on target. And now it's Dyer, our Youth Academy graduate, cutting in on his left foot, finding the pass in the middle, and Maja's shot denied by Dean Henderson, who managed to make a lot of quality saves in this one. It's another chance for us off of a set piece, find the ball in the middle, and another stop from the Nottingham Forest goalkeeper. We do, however, keep the match scoreless, which isn't exactly how I drew things up, but taking a look at the statistics, we were the dominant team and we're unlucky not to get on the goal sheet. A little too close for comfort at the end, but a 17th place finish will guarantee our survival. Take a look at the top half of the Premier League table. Liverpool win the league. Manchester United and Manchester City in the second and third place spots, with Arsenal rounding out the top 4. It will be Nottingham Forest, Brighton, and Sheffield United to see relegation to the Championship. Speaking of which, Leicester City and Leeds seeing their swift return to the Premier League. Millwall end up winning the Championship playoffs to join them. Liverpool adding a second trophy with a victory in the FA Cup final. Manchester City win the Carabao Cup in a 3-1 win against Manchester United. Real Madrid kicking off the season with a 2-1 victory against Eintracht Frankfurt in the UEFA Super Cup. Bayern win the Champions League against PSG. Manchester United defeating Marseille in the Europa League final. And Fiorentina picking up the Conference League title against Lazio. A great debut season back for Maja at Sunderland. 10 goals across 29 appearances. While it wasn't enough to feature in the top 15, I think there will come a time where Maja features as a leading goal scorer in this category. As for assists, it's Jack Clark who leads the way. 5 assists from 36, also going up +7 in his rating. Another case where the player is not featuring in the top 15, but Phil Foden will lead the way with 14 from 32. Our two Manchester United players on loan performed at a spectacular level. +7 in Diallo's rating, and I think he's ready to feature for United. Williams, on the other hand, because there is so much competition for him at left back with Luke Shaw and Malacia ahead of him, I think he would welcome a permanent move here at Sunderland. So we're going to exercise that 3.5 million transfer fee that we set. Here's a look at what his contract will be like. By the end of the season, Dyer achieving a +7 in his rating to a 77 overall, and a couple of new Youth Academy players. Aaron Cunningham, a 63 rated striker from Ireland, 84 to 94 potential. And our scout in the United States managed to find Cohen Mathis, a 61 rated goalkeeper with 70 to 94 potential. All in all, a pretty solid season here at Sunderland, both in terms of our performance and our board objectives. We've achieved our main objective of avoiding relegation from the Premier League. You gotta think that things are only uphill from here. But if you're enjoying this Sunderland rebuild so far, drop a like on the video and consider subscribing to the channel for more content like this. Expectations from the board starting to get more difficult, but also ambitions for us to improve this squad. For domestic success, we need to look to finish mid-table and reach the round of 16 of the FA Cup. Our transfer budget pretty consistent with what we had to work with last year, but a couple of departures to begin the season. We've got 2 of our more experienced players leaving the club, Alex Pritchard going to Sheffield United for $1 million, and Danny Bath joining Hent on a $1 million transfer fee. We'll look to replicate some of that leadership experience with a Sunderland Youth Academy player in Jordan Henderson. He spent 2 seasons with Sunderland at the Premier League level in 2009 and 2010, but it was his $20 million transfer fee to Liverpool in the summer of 2011 that really kicked off his career. He went on to become captain at Liverpool in 2015, winning quite a few awards, including some individual accomplishments such as England Footballer of the Year and Liverpool Player of the Year, and club accomplishments such as titles in the Premier League, UEFA Super Cup, Champions League, FA Cup, Carabao Cup, and English Super Cup. Ultimately, it was a $10 million transfer for Henderson to return back to his hometown club. Potentially a deal we might see in upcoming seasons as Liverpool reshape their midfield. With that said, we'll still look to sign some players with fantastic potential like Malik Tillman. He's coming off of a breakout season with Rangers where he scored 10 goals and contributed 4 assists. It led him to winning the PFA Scotland Young Player of the Year award, but with a lot of center attacking mids ahead of him at Bayern, including Jamal Musiala and even Thomas Muller, I'm uncertain whether he'll get a lot of minutes at Bayern. Even less on this transfer, only $7.5 million to complete the Tillman signing. it was less than his valuation of $9 million with his contract running out, and he's got that exciting prospect status. I'll start each season looking at potential free agents to sign, and this is a good right back improvement with Nelson Semedo. Not too long ago, he left Barcelona to join Wolves for $30 million, where he has become a regular in their side. Even seeing a bit of a resurgence with their new head coach, Julen Lopetegui. I can definitely see him being a key player in this Sunderland squad over the next few years. We've got another season of scouting ahead, starting with England for 9 months, searching for any type of player, and some new countries, Wales for the rest of the season, looking for any type of talent, and Scotland for the rest of the season, also looking for any type of player. An easier month ahead compared to last year in the Premier League. Here is the starting 11, even stronger as this rebuild continues, and I'll happily give the captain's armband over to Henderson. A 2-1 win in our league opener against Crystal Palace, and we'll check on results in January 2024. A big turnaround for us as we sit 6th place, as the rest of the teams in the top half look pretty similar to years prior. But the starting 11, I really couldn't ask for much more. Squad morale is at an all-time high, and we'll once again see a late season fixture in the Premier League, and a big one at that. It's an away match at St. James's Park against our rival, Newcastle United. We're both battling for that last spot in the Europa League, but there are some changes to our squad, mostly due to injury, as Jack Clark suffered another long-term injury in the squad, leaving him out for 7 months. I'm hoping to see the rivalry between Newcastle and Sunderland return in the upcoming seasons, especially with Newcastle's resurgence, even qualifying potentially for Champions League football this year, and Sunderland's near promotion to the Premier League. I think we've got a couple of interesting years ahead, but Dyer is going to start things out in a fantastic sense with a good goal on his preferred left foot, cutting in from that right-hand side, and it's a sight that we're going to see many times throughout this rebuild. Continuing with the highlights here in the 36th minute, we take the ball away from Newcastle and get on the break. A poor tackle, though, from Joe Willock, stopping the counterattack, but receiving a yellow card as part of the offense. Fortunately, no injury here, as Maja will be able to continue in this one. We're nearing the close of the first half, and it's again Dyer playing through Maja. He's got the defenders beaten for pace, 1-on-1 with Nick Pope, but a good save from the English goalkeeper. But in the 62nd minute, you just cannot stop our homegrown talent. Again, he gets it on his preferred left foot, and it's really an interesting save animation from Pope. Maybe should have done better here, but it was still a good goal nonetheless from Dyer. You could argue that we rely on him a little bit too much, especially as we finish towards the top end of the Premier League table, but it's clear we've got some fantastic players developing at Sunderland. I can't discount how important that victory against Newcastle was to the 6th place finish. Liverpool repeating as Premier League winners, with Manchester United, Manchester City, and Arsenal once again rounding out the top 4 spots. Relegation going to newly promoted Leicester and Millwall along with Crystal Palace. Brighton and Nottingham Forest seeing the return to the Premier League, and Blackburn Rovers win the championship playoffs. It was a tough go for Newcastle United as they lost in the FA Cup to Manchester City. Liverpool adding another trophy with the Carabao Cup, and Manchester United winning the UEFA Super Cup against Bayern. Bayern going back-to-back in the Champions League against Ajax. It's Leverkusen to win the Europa League against Club Brugge, and Chelsea win the Conference League against Eintracht Frankfurt. What a player Dyer has become, 11 goals from 36 appearances, and also going up +7 in his rating in back-to-back seasons. I think something might be up for the player's statistics, as Maja's numbers got reset in January when I briefly sent him out on loan. Unfortunately, that means no players from our club in the top 15 for goal scorers, but it's Mo Salah that goes back-to-back as Golden Boot winner. The same statistics glitch being applied to Malik Tillman, but still achieving a +6 in his overall, up to 80. Clearly, Salah has been a huge part of Liverpool's back-to-back Premier League title winning campaigns with 11 assists, equal with Scamacca. We'll get an update on some of our loaned out youth academy players. Cunningham going up +7 to a 70 rating. Mathis going up +5 in his overall to 66. And our newly promoted talents will consist of Arthur Watson, a 67 rated left winger from Scotland. He's got 87 to 93 potential. Alex Morris, a 62 rated right winger from Wales, 79 to 94 potential. And finally, our English player is Callum Roberts, 59 rated left back with 75 to 94 potential. I don't think we were far from achieving all of our board objectives. It's Europa League football for us in Season 3. There are some exciting times ahead here at Sunderland in the Europa League, but we've got some question marks in the squad to deal with. Clark is still out for another 3 months due to that ACL injury, and I think we need more squad depth down the left-hand side. For board objectives, most of these are pretty routine, but we need to achieve a similar finish in the Premier League as we try to qualify for the Europa League in back-to-back seasons, reach the round of 16 of the FA Cup, and reach the quarterfinal of the Europa League. We've seen a 30 million rise to our transfer budget, nearing 100 million, and we start to receive offers for Dyer, but not so many from English clubs. That was just one of the many interesting offers coming through. Bayern looking to re-sign Tillman just 1 year later, and Nelson Semedo getting transfer interest from Newcastle and also his youth academy club Benfica. We are going to see the departure of Ross Stewart, who I know is somewhat of a fan favorite at Sunderland, scoring a lot of goals, but no longer our starting striker. So he's off to Standard Liège for 7.5 million. Bennett also leaving the club as he joins Aston Villa for 7.5 million. Swansea City completing the Dayaku signing for 1.5 million. And now that we've qualified for European competitions, we can attract more big name players here at Sunderland. Axel Disasi has become a mainstay in the league, featuring for both Stade Reims and Monaco after graduating from Paris FC's youth academy. There have been some transfer links tying him to Premier League sides like Manchester United for upwards of 50 million, but we're going to sign him for half that. 25 million will complete the Disasi transfer. As his contract was running out, we were able to bring him in for less than his valuation of 27 million. And I was just talking about squad depth down this left-hand side. I think Flickiify can be a crucial player for us, not only as a left winger, but also as a rotational striker. He's part of an Antwerp team that currently sits top of the Belgian Pro League as they continue the playoff round of their competition. He's been playing at a pretty high level for them. Some say he is a bit inconsistent when he falls out of form, but I think he's got time to develop as a player here at Sunderland, and hopefully we'll get plenty of chances to shine across all competitions. It's a transfer fee of 15 million to complete the Flickiify signing. Plenty of talents from the Belgian Pro League have done well in the Prem, and I think he can soon be added to that list. We are going to move him to a left winger role moving forward. Sunderland actually have quite a few former Spurs Youth Academy players in their squad, including the likes of the currently injured player Clark and their left back Sirkin. But Troy Parrott had a promising start to his under-18 Premier League campaign and also for Premier League 2. I feel like he hasn't quite been able to recreate those numbers in the Championship or League 1, but still a young player and a talent that may get opportunities in the future, especially dependent on what club Harry Kane chooses to play for. But another situation where expectations aren't too high for Parrott as we complete the signing on a 5 million transfer fee. Back-to-back seasons we're returning towards the free agents and signing a 29-year-old, this time with Harrison Reed. Fulham have had an exceptional season, and behind every squad that overperforms is a player like Reed who consistently puts up solid numbers but doesn't necessarily get the recognition. Our scouting networks for the season will consist of England for 9 months searching for any type of player, checking off Northern Ireland for the rest of the season, looking for any type of talent, and also sending our Turkish scout to his home country for the rest of the season, looking for any type of player. Some great fixtures ahead in the month of August for the Premier League, but here is the new look starting 11. The team just gets better and better, and momentum continues to build here at Sunderland as we kick off our Prem campaign with a 2-1 win away from home at Old Trafford. Here's a peek at our Europa League group. We have Henk, Midtjylland, and AIK. The best player at Henk is Martin van der Voort, an 80 rated Belgian goalkeeper. I also signed Gustav Isaacson not too long ago, and he seems to be a player that is garnering a lot of interest in Europe. Ayari is the top talent at AIK, a 67 rated left midfielder from Sweden. But some new competitions to review in January 2025, starting in the Premier League. Similar to last season, we currently sit 7th, and unsurprisingly, we finished top of our Europa League group, only losing the single match and advancing to the knockout stages. Quite a few changes to the squad, as not only Henderson shifting to a bench role for Neil, but also Clark is back in the starting 11 as he returns from injury. We'll get into the round of 16 of the Europa League against Leipzig, who have made the signing of Kai Havertz as he returns back to the Bundesliga at an 89 rating, but it was a scoreless draw in the first leg. As we return home, we put 3 goals past Leipzig to advance 3-0 on aggregate into the quarterfinals against Ajax, who actually haven't made too many signings in this save, but have kept Edson Alvarez a couple of seasons in. A 2-0 victory in the first leg. Another winning results at the Johan Cruyff Arena to put us through to the semifinals against Sevilla, a club that is known to fare very well in the Europa League. Sevilla have completed the signing of Santiago Jimenez up to an 84 rating, but we're again going to see results in our favor. 2-0 away from home, 2-0 at the Stadium of Light, and we are through to the final of the Europa League against Roma. Paulo Dybala continues to be the top talent over in Rome, but with this being the final fixture of the season, we'll review results, and we sit 7th place in the Premier League, so this Europa League result will be crucial for next season. Relegation spots going to Bournemouth, Brentford, and Burnley. Leicester City seem to be swapping between the Premier League and the Championship, but they will earn promotion along with Crystal Palace. Millwall win the Championship playoffs. We saw a third-round exit to West Brom in the FA Cup, with Manchester United defeating Southampton on penalties in the final. A quarterfinals exit to City in the Carabao Cup. They went all the way to the final, where they defeated Liverpool 3-1. Bayern adding another trophy in this rebuild as they defeat Bayer Leverkusen in the UEFA Super Cup. Barca winning the Champions League against Liverpool, and the Conference League going to PAOK as they defeat Copenhagen in the final. But all attention on this Europa League final. If we want Champions League football at Sunderland, we'll need to get the result here. This match being played at a neutral ground as we travel to Bilbao for this Europa League final. But we're going to kick off the highlights with some really entertaining gameplay. Clark, returning from his injury, is going to skip by a few Roma players, finds a pass in the middle. The shot is saved from Maja, but it's Tillman whose header gives us the opener. 26 minutes in, and Sunderland take the lead in this Europa League final. Really was a team goal, as a lot of players got a touch on the ball. Substitution as Henderson will feature for these final minutes. That's mostly so that he can lift this trophy for us. Not really a key player in our starting 11 anymore, but I think his return to Sunderland really sparked something for us, and I felt like it was only right for him to lift the first trophy of this rebuild. Despite a drop in our Premier League performance, I'll still count this season as a success. 35 goals from Maja across 55 appearances finally will feature in the top 15 and even the top 5, with Rodrigo leading the way from Manchester City. Maja was equal on assists with Tillman at the club, both of them with 11, and we will just barely break into the top 15 with Jack Grealish, Vlahovic, and Aronson, all with 9 assists. Once again, getting a loan update, Alex Morris up +7 in his rating during a short-term loan spell. We've now got a couple of ties to Paris FC at the club. Callum Roberts going up +5 in his loan to a 64 overall. Arthur Watson achieving double-digit growth, up +10 to a 77 rating at Henk. Some solid growth from Mathis, going up +5 in his overall to a 71 rating. And finally, Cunningham has gone up +3 during a loan spell at Porto to a 74 overall. Couple more new talents at the club. We've got Bulut, a 62 rated box-to-box center midfielder from Turkey, 87 to 94 potential. Luke McDermott is a 61 rated goalkeeper from Northern Ireland, 16 years old, 86 to 92 potential. And finally, Ewan Woods, a 59 rated left back from England. He's got potential of 79 to 94. Our manager rating not changing all that much in this rebuild, but we continue to make strides. Well, I'm excited for Champions League football at Sunderland. We need to make some changes to the squad so that we can withstand the test of improved competition. Our expectations from the board seem to be aligned as we look to bring in a crucial first team forward. As far as Premier League action, we need to finish in a UEFA Europa League spot, win the FA Cup, and try to reach the semi-final of the Champions League. Finally, our transfer budget going north of 100 million, but getting right into some offers coming in. We finally get a bid from a big Premier League club, so Samu Costa will be heading to Old Trafford as he joins Manchester United for 25 million. Rugani has played a big part in getting us to Champions League football, but he's heading back to Italy as he signs with Sassuolo for 12.5 million. Ballard's been battling injuries, so he will be off to the Super League as he joins Fenerbahce for 4 million. You may have predicted this transfer at some point in a Sunderland rebuild, but Jordan Pickford transferring away from Everton, he is set for his Premier League return. Pickford was arguably the biggest talent to come out of Sunderland's youth academy, and the main reason he left was, of course, their relegation back in 2017. He's continued to improve as a goalkeeper over the years, even commanding the England #1 spots, but it just seems right to see him back at the Premier League and Sunderland. 25 million was the finalized fee. Honestly, not a bad amount considering we're going to get a massive upgrade at the goalkeeper position. Back when I was doing a rebuild with Lyon, I actually never had the chance to develop Lukeba due to interest from some top teams. Despite him being a very promising player and finishing in the top 60 for the 2022 Golden Boy Award, he's for some reason transferred to Brentford, who is now in the Championship due to their relegation last season. Obviously, we need to change that, and I think he's ready for Champions League football as Brentford accepted a 35 million bid. I don't know if his contract was was running out, or if it's just because they're a championship side that they let him leave for less than his valuation. Our next signing is a player that I haven't seen featured too much in the career mode scene with Morten Human. When I was doing my research on him, I found some really interesting facts. He's currently captain at Lecce at just 23 years old, and despite him playing a holding midfielder position, he puts up good assist numbers season after season. There has been some interest from top clubs like Dortmund, Atleti, Juventus, Napoli, and Roma. 25 million was the transfer fee, and honestly, I think he can do a good job filling the gap in our defensive midfield that Samu Costa left. We'll begin the season with a new competition. It's the UEFA Super Cup against Barcelona. Here's the starting 11. A lot of changes to the squad. 3 new players in our starting 11. And it seems like those defensive upgrades have done wonders. A 1-0 victory against Barca. So in Pickford's first game, he will be lifting a trophy for Sunderland, and hopefully it's the first of many. I think we have a decent chance of competing in the Champions League group stage, as we've got Borussia Dortmund, RB Salzburg, and Shakhtar Donetsk in our group. As for Dortmund's best player, Jude Bellingham still at the club at a 90 rating. Yari Verscharen making the move from the Belgian Pro League over to Austria, as he features at an 80 overall for Salzburg. And it's pretty well known that Shakhtar Donetsk's highest potential player is Lassina Traore. He's actually transferred away to Cadiz, but they still got Toyrov, who's at a 74 overall. It's an important January transfer window as we review all competitions. A 7th place standing in the Premier League, as Chelsea seem to be running away with the title. But for the Champions League, we've done enough to advance to the knockout stages. I would say Dortmund were always the favorite in our group, and they will finish top. For a change, we haven't seen any injuries to the squad, so we can move forward to the round of 16 of the Champions League. Up against Atleti, they've completed the signing of former Newcastle player Alexander Isak as he returns back to La Liga. But it's Josh Maja that opens up the scoring. We could have arguably gotten more goals with 11 shots, but a 2-1 result away from home puts us through 3-1 on aggregate into the quarterfinals against PSG. It seems like they're on a quest to sign all the highest potential players in career mode with the transfer of Pedri, now at a 92 rating. And it was Pedri to score in that opening fixture. PSG get the upper hand 2-1, and unfortunately, we only manage a draw in the away fixture, despite Dyer's efforts of scoring a hat-trick. A relatively disappointing season, mid-table in the Premier League, and not doing enough in cup competitions. I don't know how Liverpool have managed it, but Chelsea somehow lose the league title despite going undefeated in the first half. We're going to languish mid-table, just a few points off of European football. As for the relegation zone, it's Leicester, Millwall, and Blackburn Rovers to return to the championship. Bournemouth and Brentford receiving automatic promotion to the Premier League, and Southampton finally make their way back to England's top flight after winning the championship playoff. Manchester City were FA Cup winners against Arsenal. Liverpool defeat Chelsea in the Carabao Cup final, and the one redeeming quality of our season was that victory in the UEFA Super Cup against Barcelona. City end up winning the Champions League against PSG 2-1. Inter defeating Arsenal in the Europa League final, and it's PSV who defeat PAOK once again as they reach the Conference League final. Goals were no problem for us. Maja with 31 from 57. It ranked him as the top 3 Premier League goal scorer. Moise Kean transferring to Wolves and leading the league in this category. Brandon Williams had the most assists for the club, 10 from 55. Most of those assists coming in cup competitions because he didn't even rank top 15 in the Premier League for assists. If we want to return back to European football, we'll need to rely on our youth academy. Luke McDermott will start off the loan updates at +7 in his rating to 68. Callum Roberts up +4 to a 69 overall. Balut up +7 to a 69 rating during a La Liga loan spell. Alex Morris went up +4 in his overall to a 74. Ewan Woods went up +7 in his rating to a 66 overall. Cohen Matis also spending the year in Spain. He went up +5 to a 76 rating. And Aaron Cunningham, one of the highest valued youth academy players at the club, up +4 to a 78 overall. We'll need to rebuild in season 5 and hope to return to European football next year. Plenty of changes ahead to the Sunderland squad. It's a matter of clearing out players that have outgrown the team now that we're no longer in Champions League football. With that said, still looking to sign 3 crucial players and make a profit of over 100 million. As for domestic success, we're looking to return back to the Champions League. Really can't make sense of these transfer budgets as we now have over 200 million to sign players. But we finally received a big offer for Arthur Dyer from an English club. Seems like Manchester United want to sign our players. It's been a fantastic 3.5 seasons for Dyer as a starting 11 player here at Sunderland, but it's time for him to go as he will depart to Old Trafford for 150 million as one of the world's best players. Plenty of interest in Lukeba as well. Real Madrid offering Yuri Tielemans as part of a swap deal, but we're just going to accept a transfer fee of 75 million instead. It's time for us to return to what has worked before, and Amad Diallo moving away from United, now with RB Leipzig in the Bundesliga. I don't need to speak much on what he can offer to the Sunderland team. I think fans of the club will have seen from this season what kind of quality he has. Versatile enough to play centrally as an attacking mid or out on the right to cut in on his preferred left foot. We're going to complete the Diallo signing on a 65 million move. He's valued just clear of 53.5 million. And in our squad tactics, he will be acting as a right winger. Apparently, we've had plenty of connections with United in this save, as now we want to sign Ethan Laird as a right back. He spent back-to-back seasons in the Championship on loan, and with the right backs at Manchester United leaving some question marks, I think he's got a chance of featuring for them in the future. One of the star players in the United Youth Academy, he got his debut with Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, but hasn't featured consistently for the club since then. Regardless, he's a great talent in career mode as we complete the transfer on a 30 million move. While he won't start immediately, I think he is going to be our long-term option at right back. We'll close out the signings in Season 5 with Calvin Bassey, who last summer completed a move to Ajax, and as a whole, the club didn't have the best season. There have been some question marks of whether he fits in their system because he's not known to have the best technical ability on the ball. But I think he showed plenty of quality with Rangers, and I think with the right system, he can become a great player, and he's certainly going to be a good option for us at left center back with Lukeba's departure. We'll spend 25 million to complete this signing, so in total, we're spending a lot less than the money that was coming in this summer. Brighton willing to let him go for not much more than his valuation of 24 million. Hopefully we can gain momentum in these first few Premier League fixtures, but the starting 11 will once again see some changes. A new left center back and a new right winger with Laird being able to feature off the bench. We do end up winning against Southampton, courtesy of a late goal from Diallo, but January 2027, just Premier League results to check on, and we're just outside of Champions League qualification, 1 point behind Manchester City for that 4th place spot. Squad development is looking good, and Laird, as expected, is starting to grow in his rating, surpassing Semedo, who is quite unhappy, so he will be departing at the end of this season with his contract up, joining Stade Rennais in the summer. But we're still in the January transfer window when we receive news that Youmans suffered an ACL injury and will be out for the rest of this season. I thought about maybe bringing in a defensive midfielder to improve our chances of Champions League football, but I'm going to put my trust in Harrison Reed. He's done wonders for Fulham, and I'm hoping that he can do the job for us. But the season is starting to reach its end. We've got a cup fixture here against Spurs. This is going to be the FA Cup final, which I would obviously be happy to win. Both us and Spurs are also competing for that final Champions League qualification spot. I can hardly recognize their starting 11, maybe 2 or 3 players in there from their original team sheets. But as we travel to Wembley, I'm hoping that we can give the fans a great performance. It's been a disappointing last year at Sunderland, going from Champions League football to no European competitions, but we've still got the quality of play, some fantastic build-up, if only it had the finishing piece from Diallo. But we're going to continue that pressure in the second half. It's Tillman who has his effort go just wide. I think even hitting upper 90 of the crossbar and still unable to get that opener. So with the match still 0-0 after 90 minutes plus extra time, we will be heading to penalties. These are the exact situations that we brought in Jordan Pickford for. I'm hoping that he can be the difference in this one as he guesses the right way on Spurs' first penalty. We also managed to convert our first 2, and finally, as Pickford guesses the right direction in back-to-back pens, we managed to take a nice 3-1 lead. It's a deciding one for Neil. If he can score this, we will be FA Cup winners. And he goes right down the middle, taking a note from Diallo that the keeper is quick to jump off of his line. And that makes it 2 consecutive seasons where we've managed to win a trophy, but this FA Cup win will seal us, at minimum, Europa League football next season. When things were all said and done, we secure a 4th place finish in the Premier League along with that FA Cup win. Manchester City end up winning the title. Liverpool and Chelsea will be joining us in the Champions League next season. Fulham, Leeds, and Bournemouth will be dropping to the Championship. Burnley and Sheffield United receiving automatic promotion to the Premier League, and it's Norwich to win the Championship playoffs. You got a feel for Spurs missing out on Champions League football and also losing the FA Cup. Chelsea get the win against Burnley in the Carabao Cup final, and Manchester City defeat Inter on penalties in the UEFA Super Cup. Leverkusen seemed to be thriving after Pickford's departure, winning the Champions League against Liverpool. Barcelona defeat Lyon in the Europa League, and Wolves get the win against Borussia Mönchengladbach in the Conference League. Practically every season, Maja is leading the club in goals, 32 from 47 this time around. He was second in goals scored for the Premier League, Cody Gakpo just ahead of him. And Maja also had the most assists, 15 from 47. Finally, we are first, at least sharing the assist title with Kulusevski from Liverpool. Only a few of our Youth Academy players were loaned out this year, with McDermott going up +5 in his rating, Balut's going up +4 in his overall to a 74, Woods up +3 to a 70 rating, Mathis up +3 to a 79, and Cunningham also going up +3 to an 81 rating. Our manager rating has improved, and we're back in the Champions League for Season 6. Now that we're a little more well-versed with the Champions League, and I would argue our squad is improved, I think we can fare better. But I still want to make improvements to the team, especially with Hjulman out for another 6 weeks with his injury. Board objectives no longer need to be a big priority for us, but for domestic success, we need to win the league title, win the FA Cup, and for the Champions League, try to reach the final. Our transfer budget continues to go up just shy of 400 million, and it's just going to be a single signing here in the summer. Salis Abdul Samed is a Ghanaian footballer that has shined this season for Lens. Every year they seem to have a midfielder that becomes popular in the career mode scene. Last year it was Fofana, but Samed has gotten some really nice attribute upgrades in career mode, and having gotten his debut for the Ghanaian national team in a friendly a week before the 2022 World Cup, he's become a key part in their side, playing all but 20 minutes in the group stage. It was a relatively big transfer fee of 50 million to complete the signing, but because he's the only transfer for the club this summer, I was okay with spending above his valuation. I do want to amuse you with one interesting incoming offer for Jordan Pickford. Everton looking to re-sign him as he's now grown to an 85 rating, but just one departure with Jay Matet leaving to Michelin on 1.75 million transfer fee. But we once again will take part in the FA Community Shield up against Premier League winners Manchester City. Hjulman is almost recovered from his injury, but Samed will still be starting at that left center defensive mid position, and a change to our center attacking mid as Watson has taken over for Tillman. Not sure he'll ever fully complete this position change, but he should be able to contribute to our attacking front four in some sense. Unfortunately, we weren't able to go back-to-back as penalty kick winners, with City winning 3-1 on pens, but the Champions League will be a big focus for us as we face against Pickford's former team, Leverkusen, Lazio, and Braga. The Dortmund youngster, Bino Gittens, is at an 84 overall for Leverkusen. Jack Grealish making the interesting move to Italy, also at an 84 rating. And we were just talking about Fofana from Lens. He's transferred over to Braga at an 81 overall. We'll get some updates in January 2028, and we currently sit top 4 in the Premier League. Not necessarily out of the title race, 8 points behind City, but we've done extremely well in our Champions League group, 13 points out of 18, and finishing at top of our group. No injury concerns, and I think the squad is ready to move forward to the round of 16 as we face Atalanta. Their best player is Wilfried Jonto, who has transferred to Serie A and features at an 86 overall. But it was a 1-0 win in the opening fixture, with Clark scoring the only goal. We're going to get a brief break from Champions League football for the Carabao Cup against Manchester City. Can we get our revenge on them from the FA Community Shield? And yes, we can. We get 2 goals from Maja, and that will give us our first bit of silverware this season. Hopefully, we can compete in the Champions League and the Premier League as well. Getting back into the Champions League action, a 5-0 result in the second leg, putting us through 6-0 on aggregate into the quarterfinals against Leverkusen. If you were curious who took over for Pickford as their goalkeeper, it is Alexander Nubel at an 83 rating. But a 2-1 win in the first leg. We do suffer an injury, though, with Watson. There's something about these ACL injuries. I think it's our 3rd in total for this rebuild. But fortunately, we've got Tillman available off the bench. He can fit in nicely at center attacking mid. We were also victorious in the home fixture, winning 1-0, putting us through 3-1 on aggregate. Into the semifinals against Barcelona. Thiago Almada, this seems to be a routine signing in career mode. He now features at an 87 rating. But a big opening result, 3-2 in the home fixture, put us in a comfortable position for the second leg, which we managed to win 1-0, and Tillman being the key player in this fixture. Our opponent for the Champions League final will be Inter, and they have made a couple of moves in this save, including signing Van der Vaart, who we featured against, I want to say, in the Europa League against Henk, but we will first check on results before we play that match. In the Premier League, we saw a 6th place finish, so dropping from where we were in January. City win the league title, and for relegation spots, it's Brentford, Brighton, and Southampton to see the drop to the Championship. Leeds and Fulham securing the automatic promotion spots to the Premier League, and Bournemouth will be joining them next season. Some varied results in cup competitions as we lost the season opener against City in the FA Community Shield. Also, a quarterfinals exit in the FA Cup against Brentford. Wolves went on to defeat Newcastle United in the final of that competition. We did, of course, win the Carabao Cup against Manchester City, and Leverkusen continuing their winning ways as they defeated Barcelona in the UEFA Super Cup. Spurs had a trophy with the Europa League title, and it's Roma to defeat Ajax in the Conference League. Maja still clear as the top goal scorer at the club, 35 from 60 appearances. It ranks him as the 7th best goal scorer in the Premier League. Christian Pulisic actually leading for Chelsea. DL has made quite the impact since he returned to Sunderland, now contributing 11 assists from 61 appearances. Jack Clark actually ahead of him on Premier League assist tallies, but it's Haaland, who is equal with 2 other players for the assists award. And look back at our homegrown talent, Dyer is still at Manchester United and a 91 rating. But here's the team sheets for both sides in this Champions League final. There are some similarities in our formation, so it'll be interesting to see who wins it. On a ratings perspective, I would say Inter have the upper hand in this Champions League final, but we've surprised plenty of people in this Sunderland save, and we've managed to keep a good core of players even throughout these 6 seasons. We managed to start the match with a couple of good efforts, but we were just unable to get the ball in the back of the net, either being denied by the goalkeeper or the crossbar. One final chance before the halftime break, and it's Diallo to get by the defender with ease. He is going to play this back to Maja, and now another good save from Van der Vaart. We're into the 53rd minute, and this is going to be another tough tackle on one of our players, and it's actually one where Clark is going to need substitution due to some fitness issues moving forward. A yellow card awarded to the Inter player, and it's Balik Visha who will be brought on for Clark. On the ensuing set piece, we're going to get a great chance, and it's Maja who gets this effort towards goal, but another fantastic save from the Inter goalkeeper. We're into extra time, and we've yet to see a highlight for Inter, but that will change with Anthony Martial, the former Manchester United player, now moving to Italy and scoring on the world's biggest stage for club competitions. And we just couldn't answer back. Franck Kessié with a controversial move from AC Milan and now captaining Inter. It seems to have worked out for him as he lifts this Champions League trophy. But I think it's safe to say we return Sunderland back to stability in the Premier League and competing for titles each season.